So what did you make of the draw? It's not an easy one.
I don't think there's any easy games in the Big Ten. I think, going into the last game, there were so many scenarios. In fact, so many that I just basically said, don't tell me what any of them are. All we got to focus on is let's play good against Minnesota. And then after that, there was still all of these possibilities. So we're playing a good team. Well, whoever we end up playing, we know we're playing a good team. And at this point in the season, that's kind of the name of the game.
With Iowa, if it is Iowa, how much? I mean, last year they were obviously bringing droves of fans wherever they went. How much do you expect in Indianapolis, it to be a pretty big crowd for Iowa if they are who you match up, and obviously in their first game?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll see. They travel well. It's not that far. They have a great fan base, so that'll add to the tournament atmosphere for sure. I think that's something we're used to, though. I mean, all season long, whether we've been home or away, we've been playing with a crowd, which is I love that. I love that about our league. I love that about where women's basketball is right now.
The conference tournament is such a different animal than the regular season. You go through the grind and it all sorts out. Do you look at this as we have 4 days to win a championship or do something special, or how do you approach it?
Well, I think there's a few things that go into tournament time that matter. And I shared this with our team. One of them is you have to have a team that still really wants to play. The season expands a lot of time, and there still has to be a real enthusiasm, and we have that. I love that about our group. There's still real enthusiasm about competing and playing. And then I also think you have to be really good at what you're really good at. There's very little prep time, quick turnarounds. Teams, a lot of times, this will be our second time playing. We didn't, with the new league, we didn't play each other twice. So there's got to be an ability to make some quick adjustments, but you've also got to be good at what you're good at. And there's so many fluid parts of the game that you have to be solid in. So I think that's a bigger part of tournament time. There's not the same preparation time, so you kind of got to own your identity.
Is any part of it, and you probably don't address this tangibly, but you improve what happens the next week by how well you do this weekend? I know that's media talk, but can you set yourself up better for the future by winning a few games here or not?
Yeah, I think every game we have that opportunity. Regular season, I think end of the season is that's an important time. We don't hide from that. That is a for sure reality of the tournament.
I'm curious, these last few games for Julia, they're going to be some of her last as a Spartan, and I'm curious if you see maybe a sense of focus, a sense of urgency from her in these.
Who did you say?
Julia.
Oh, Julia, yeah. I think urgency is always really helpful, right? Even if you're not a senior, I just think having urgency is a helpful way to play. It's a helpful way to work. I think of that in everything, right? Feeling urgent, and I think our team understands that too. But as a senior, there's a clearer boundary right in front of you, and that's the hope.
Robyn, I was wondering, based on your experience in the past, how do you approach either or, like a prep? Is it just 50-50 on each team, or have you tweaked that in the past in your career just based on what works and what doesn't?
Well, I think there's overlap. I think there's things between both teams that matter. I mean, both teams have good post play. Both teams rebound. There's some overlap, with the way we pressure. We've got to find ways to do that against either team. So there's overlap that we can address both teams. And then there's some specific things that, like we played Iowa, I feel like a year ago. So that was before Christmas. That was even before we finished non-conference. So that's a little different. Like even when we're different, they're different. Like there's been a lot of season between us. So they're probably a bigger adjustment from just from when we played them. We played Wisconsin a few weeks ago.
Robyn, a lot of success. Year two, the transfer portal. How is it impacting your team, and do you have some portal principles you've kind of become related to as this season's been going on?
Well, the portal it's part of our game, and I don't think of it as good or bad. It's a big part of our game now, and I see a lot of great parts of the portal. I see things maybe where it doesn't work, but I also see a lot of places where it does work. For our team this year, the portal's been excellent. We've had great additions as players and as people. So we address it with needs. Like, we kind of know going in what are important needs, how does that fit. So much of recruiting is complementary pieces. You can't have all of the same players. You need players that fit well together and complement each other. So that's how we use it.
Mm-hmm. One of those portal pieces was Grace Van Sluten, and she got all Big Ten second team today. Julia Aralt, who they brought up, all second team as well, and then Theron Halleck, honorable mention. I figured you could talk a little bit about those three and what has been so successful for their seasons this season.
Yeah, well, proud of all three. I shared with our team after practice that they didn't actually add any more spots to the all-league team. We just added 60 more players, right? So we added 4 teams. And 4 really good teams. I think all 4 teams right now are going to be in the NCAA tournament, but didn't actually add any more spaces on the all-league team. So to make the all-league team is really hard. They're really, really, really loaded teams. So proud of Grace and Julia for both making second team and for Theron making honorable mention. And, I shared, if you look at the teams, the players on them are from teams that won. So it's also a team award, because the better your team does, I think the more individual acknowledgement there is. But I know you asked about adding Grace this year was a huge benefit to our team. She's a worker. She's a great competitor. She's had a lot of physicality. Julia, back-to-back years being an all-league player, I think that she impacts the game in so many ways. She's such a unique and tough matchup. And then Theron last year was 6th man of the year, and to see her, get all league this year, it's good to see her being able to take those next steps.
When you talked about the Iowa game and how far away it was and the growth since then, I'm curious, what about this season has maybe prepared this group for elimination play and just the different experiences that you guys have had with some of these road trips and some of the games you've played? Well,
I shared this after the Minnesota game. Our last 2 weeks, all we've played is March Madness. We played at UCLA, at USC, Indiana at home, at Ohio State, Minnesota, and all those teams are projected in the tournament. So we've already had a 2-week March Madness preview, which I love that, because we're not going into tournament play with any false notions of what it takes. You miss a box out against one of those teams, the other team gets a rebound. You take a bad shot, they score. So I think I like that we've had that, because we've been really tested.
You've talked in the back here. You've talked all year about how tough the Big Ten is. So for this group to finish with a chance to have a bye and among the top teams, what does that just say about the way they've been able to play this year?
Well, I think what I've really appreciated about this team is, for the most part, we've been consistent. I think we had a few home losses that were very disappointing. But other than that, we've had some really good road wins. We've taken care of home, and we've competed against the top 10 teams in the country. We played them all on the road. I thought our team did a good job we were in every one of those games through late in the fourth quarter. So adding 4 teams to the league was a lot. Adding 4 tournament teams was, all of a sudden the league goes from being really good to, in my opinion, the best conference in the country in terms of depth of talent. So proud of our team for finishing in that top third, but obviously more work to do.
I debate the value of conference tournaments. That's neither here nor there. I know the fans love them.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, as a basketball junkie growing up, did you ever go to these tournaments, men or women, just as a fan with your popcorn and your cotton candy, just to soak it all in?
I went to the high school state tournaments. Yeah. We didn't get to travel to the Big Ten and those ones, but I did go to the high school state tournaments. Love that. My son's 11. Him and my husband have been to the first 4 a few times down in Dayton, which is, same thing. It's really fun to be part of that, the magic of March.
Robyn, your team's got 362 steals this year, and we've been kind of tracking along that 375 is the school record, and it was set by the group that played more games than anybody else in this program's history, because they were in the national championship game. But I was curious if you could share, because all your stops along the way, Bowling Green, Ashland, always been able to cause a lot of turnovers. What is it about the makeup of this year's group that has them on the brink of setting the school record?
Well, it's a combination of style of play and personnel. I've been fortunate to coach a lot of really really good defensive players. I think so often we talk about really good offensive players, but there are really talented defensive players who just have a knack for stealing the ball and being in the right spots and using speed. So I think that's been a combination. You know, this year we have 3 in the top 10 in the league with Jaden, Jocelyn, Nyla, and Theron. And I think if you look at them, it's a combination of, you know, we do pressure in a lot of different ways in the full court and the half court. We teach a lot around how to be aggressive to the ball. And so that's, you know, some of that's, they know what we want, right? And they know that we're looking to be aggressive. I think it's a math game. I always talk about basketball math. I'm not great at math, but I can do basketball math, right? You have more possessions, you have a better chance. And we've been able to do that in a variety of ways, but one of the main ways is turnover margin. So proud of our kids this year, though. I mean, I coach some really talented defenders. Like, I don't know they're going to steal it, and suddenly out of nowhere they come up with the ball. So we also are the benefit of having players that really can make plays. Anything else for Coach Fralick? Go green.